মুহাম্মাদুর
আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু। প্রিয় ভাই বোনেরা, আপনারা যে যেখান থেকে আমাদের সাথে জয়েন করছেন সবাইকে অনেক অনেক শুভেচ্ছা এবং আন্তরিক মোবারকবাদ জানিয়ে শুরু করছি আমাদের এই নিয়মিত আয়োজন টিভিএন এর পক্ষ থেকে বিশেষ অনুষ্ঠান ওয়ান কিউএনএ। Those brothers and sisters watching us right now, we'd like to welcome you all to the another episode of very famous and special show, TV1's regular program One Q&A. And we hope and pray wherever you are, you may be watching from home or on the social media platform, wherever you are at this moment. May Allah keep you safe and sound. Inshallah, this is the first dua and hope at the beginning. Dear brothers and sisters, let's start this program by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purely for the reason that He has enabled us again to present this show to you. And by all means, we are all here to learn from each other, and He gave us this opportunity. And for that, let's praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the very beginning, we all say together, Alhamdulillah. প্রিয় ভাই বোনেরা, আপনারা যারা আমাদেরকে নিয়মিত দেখেন, those brothers and sisters watching us regularly, you know how to participate in this program. You know how we design this show for you. But it's a reminder for all of us, and those brothers and sisters are watching first time today. You may be just logged in or tuned into our channel today. So we'd like to welcome you all, and would like to mention that this is a program very much for you. If you have any questions, any suggestions, any comments you'd like to make, please feel free to do so. While we're airing the program, you can call us on 020351511764, and also you can email us oneqa@tv1ek.com. This is the email address you need to send your questions or comments to. One request, dear brothers and sisters, at the very beginning: if you are emailing us, please try to be precise to your questions and be mindful about maximum 2 questions, please, so that we can accommodate as much as we can. This is the request at the very beginning. And also you can tweet us if you prefer to do so at TV1UK. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest today, and you'll be happy to know we have Imam Abdullah Hassan with us today, and he's going to answer your questions and giving you the suggestions, inshallah. So let's welcome him. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you so much for giving us the time today. Sheikh, usually what we do to start with, we would like to have some nasiha from you to begin with, and as a reminder for all of us, please.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasul Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Perhaps I could start off with a very brief note and some thoughts on a very profound, all of the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are profound, but a very profound, simple hadith of a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he said, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir," whoever believes in Allah, and believes in the day of judgment, believes in the hereafter, فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لَيَصْمُتْ. Whoever believes in Allah and believes in the last day, let him or her say a word of good or remain silent. This is a very short hadith, yet very profound hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It teaches us how to communicate. A lot of the times in our relationships, we all have faults. We all have shortcomings. There is no one in this world, there is no one on this planet, apart from a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is ma'soom. Everyone else is prone to making mistakes. Everyone else has shortcomings. Everyone else loses their temper. They get angry, they get anxious, they get frustrated. And we say certain things that sometimes later on, a lot of the time later on, we regret. So the Prophet ﷺ here is reminding us that if you have nothing good to say, the best thing to do is remain silent. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ also said that the beauty of a person's Islam, the goodness of a person's Islam, is that he leaves things that does not concern him. That if something does not concern us, we leave it. And a lot of the times, these are important hadith. And unfortunately, in our culture, and perhaps your viewers are predominantly from the Indian subcontinent, i.e. Bangladeshi culture. I'm a Bengali myself. Unfortunately,
Yes.
one of the things that we have in our culture is that a lot of people, they don't mind their own business,
Yeah,
right?
and we tend to stick our nose to everything.
Yeah, and it's not. This is not specifically or specific to the Bengali community. Unfortunately, the human phenomena.
Yes.
But because I am Bengali, I'm speaking from within my own community, and we have this tendency that, we, as you said correctly, that we tend to stick our nose into other people's businesses.
Exactly.
That our neighbors, haven't you seen what that boy done? Have you seen what that girl done? Have you seen what that person done or not done? And
Exactly.
even though they may not be aware of the intricacies and the details of the happenings of their family life, the happenings of that person's life, because the shaitan comes and beautifies our lips to talk about other people, we begin to talk, we begin to backbite, we begin to chit chat. And the Prophet is saying, look, if it doesn't concern you, sometimes we have to talk. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that. Sometimes when we see wrong happening, when we see someone is being oppressed, then we have to talk.
Exactly.
The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم من رأى منكم المنكر فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه فإن لم and if he does not, whoever sees an evil, let him change it with his hand or speak out against it. فبلسانه, speak out against it. If he is not able to, let's remain silent. وذلك أضعف الإيمان, and that is the lowest point of iman, right? So
Yes.
saying a word of good, we grow up in a society, in a culture where perhaps parents or their elders talk down upon the children or down to the children. And sometimes abusive language is used. As a psychologist, I done my master's and a PhD on psychology. What we learn is that words have a very profound impact, that how we communicate has a very profound impact on the psychology or the development of children. So if you are positive, you use encouraging words, good words, powerful words, that child will be motivated and grow up and develop in a healthy way. But if you are using abusive language, and language does not befit a human being, demotivating language, right? Belittling language, that child will, most likely or will develop some psychological problems and will have issues growing up and will have difficulties in forming relationship, because that child will see that this is the natural way to do things because they've been taught like that. So the Prophet's coming back to the hadith, really profound hadith. Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir falyakul khayran aw liyasmut. Whoever believes in Allah and believes in the last day, let him say a word of good, positive word of good.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're in a group with people, right? When you're in Brother Hassan, you probably traveled with people and 10, 20 people. And, you have one or two people always complaining.
Exactly.
Right? Always criticizing, always complaining. This is not right. This is not right. And they may kind of have a point, but they're always like constantly complaining, and that rubs off on other people, and other people get demotivated. But when you have a person who is always motivating and is happy, cheerful, right, is positive, that also rubs on with other people. So the words can be very, very powerful. So we have to be careful how we say things.
Thank you so much, Sheikh. It's such a profound hadith you mentioned, and such a wonderful reminder, especially for the time we are passing. As a community, we are having these challenges to speak for goods and stay, remain if we don't need to. So thank you so much again for a beautiful reminder. We are very due for the first break, Sheikh, as you started. We will carry on, inshallah. So we are going to go off for a very short period of time, inshallah. Dear viewers, please do stay tuned. We should be coming back very soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the TV1's very regular program, very special show, One Q&A. And we hope you are with us still. Before we went to break, we were hearing from Sheikh Abdullah Hassan a beautiful and profound hadith and as a reminder, so that he was mentioning that we either remain silent or speak of good. It was a wonderful reminder for all of us. Thank you so much, Sheikh, for beautifully, sharing this with us at the very beginning. So, dear brothers and sisters, one more time, the number is 0203-5151764. If you have any question, any suggestion, any comments you'd like to make, please do so while we are airing this program, obviously, during the show. You need to call on this number. If you would like to email us, you have this option as well. And if you prefer to stay anonymous, by all means, you can stay anonymous while you're emailing us. But one request at the very beginning, as I said, please be mindful about maximum 2 questions and precise to your questions, inshallah, so that we can accommodate as much as we can. And also you can tweet us. Those brothers and sisters watching on Facebook, may I remind you one more time, if you were to ask the question, please do not post them on the comment section. Instead, there's a button at the right top corner of the page. It said send email. Use this button. That way we will get your questions or comments, inshallah. So, Sheikh, further ado, I'd like to start this segment with the question from a brother for you. And he's saying that he wanted to stay anonymous. And as I said, brothers and sisters, if you would like to stay anonymous, by all means, you can do so. We usually do not mention the name unless you ask for. So his question is, what is the punishment of a woman who is keeping her kids away from their father during the process of divorce happening, and that is intentionally and not because of any safety reasons or any safety concerns, just out of spite, she's doing it? What would be the punishment for that sister?
Okay, Bismillah. This is a really important question. And unfortunately, before I go into the thick of it, I think this is a real problem within society, not just in the Muslim community, unfortunately. In a marriage, there are difficulties and challenges. And between the husband and wife, things happen, and sometimes the marriage does not work out. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He mentions that you live peacefully, you live together peacefully in harmony, or you depart, you separate, you divorce in peace, in harmony, right? Unfortunately, what tends to happen sometimes is that the children get in the middle, and the children are used as weapons. The children are weaponized, and this relates to the other example I gave in my beginning nasiha, that a lot of the time the children's psychology is impacted. Children's well-being is jeopardized because of the actions, the behavior of the parents.
This is the worst and saddest part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and the children develop this, problems, psychological problems, growing up, and sometimes the children are like in a tug of war. The mom pulls that way and the father pulls that way, and they don't know what to think. And sometimes the parents will say things about, so the wife will say things about the husband to the children to get the children on their side, and the husband will, right? Unfortunately, this is something that I see as a psychologist counselor. I see this a lot, unfortunately, within our community and generally, and it impacts, as I said, the children, and this is completely wrong. Denying access. So if a situation we see that there is separation, in Islam you have both, as long as it's safe, as long as there's no abuse, as long as the children are safe, right? Father has to be given access. It says Sharia right.
Sorry to interrupt you, brother Sheikh. The brother has mentioned very precisely and explicitly that this is not the reason here. It's just because of spite.
I'm coming to that. Inshallah. So if that is the case, there is no kind of issues. then, denying a father or mother in this situation, denying access of the children to the father, right, is completely wrong. And there are kind of community groups among non-Muslims and also Muslims, talking about this, challenging this. And I've seen it. I've counseled people. I've counseled brothers who are distraught, good brothers who are distraught that they have not seen their kids for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and some people who may not see their children until they go, they turn 18. Can you imagine this? I can't imagine being away from my children 1 hour. Like when I am in the office or I'm outside, my heart yearns for my children, right?
Exactly. This is the dearest thing to us, this is where our heart belongs nowadays.
And we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعْلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Make our children, the delights of our eyes and our hearts. So in that situation, it's completely haram. It's prohibited. It's a sin. It's a dhanb, right? It's guna in Bengali, right? It's wrong, it's haram to deny access to the father. And the wife is sinning. Yeah. The wife is sinning. It's prohibited in Islam, right? And, Allah will obviously rectify that situation. Allah will judge. But from an Islamic perspective, it's completely haram. It is dhulm, it's oppression against the children. Not like, sometimes sisters and brothers, but here we're talking about sister perhaps, they use their children or deny their children access to the father to feel good about themselves. But I will say, as a psychologist, you will not feel good about that, because the children will resent you. When they when they turn to an age of discernment and understanding, the children will find out and understand and realize that you have denied them access to their father, and they will maybe potentially despise you. So you're not doing any good for the children or yourself or your ex-husband.
And their upbringing will be disturbed, right? If
their upbringing, absolutely, their upbringing, as I said at the beginning, subhanAllah, that their development will be disturbed. The way they would form relationship with other people in the school and the friends will be impacted by this. You're actually punishing the children. You're traumatizing the children. See, a lot of sisters in this situation don't realize this. They're traumatizing, they're harming, and it's a form of abuse. It's a form of abuse. They're abusing the children to get to their father, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. As you rightly mentioned, Sheikh, at the beginning, it's not happening just in our community. It's a border scenario across the society, and not only just sisters, stopping brothers to see their kids. It's happening vice versa.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this is the situation we are in.
Unfortunately, predominantly, okay, we don't want to say bringing numbers, but in this society, a lot of the times the children are given to the mother, right? So it predominantly is that the mothers are denying access to the fathers, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to this kind of discussion, Sheikh, I'd like to mention one email we had early on, and we'd like to. It's a very challenging matter and issues. Please feel free to say if you want to discuss further about it. But please let me mention it. It's one of the things our kids are facing challenge nowadays, and as parents, we also are finding it's very challenging to address to our kids about the very LGBT plus issues. They are very exposed to these kind of ideas, and in an environment they are being educated or being taught things. As a parent, first of all, what should we do? How to address this very, very matter to our kids? This is one thing. And secondly, how our children should be reacting or communicate with their friends with this very matter. What would be your suggestion in that, please?
That is a really, really important kind of topic. I think the main thing I would say is parents need to learn Islam. Yeah. We need to educate ourselves about Islam and, bring up our children with Islamic teachings, right? Mm-hmm. So they can, we don't need to enforce Islam. We don't need to, push Islam down the throats. Just teach them. Just teach them Islam, and they will be able to navigate through these difficult issues, right? We don't need to, compel them or force them to anything like that. Just teach them Islam, right? And make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think the best remedy for that in this society is parent. I would like to kind of mention something, and this is something, alhamdulillah, there are many teachers who are doing this now, but not enough. We need parenting courses within our community, right? It's really, really important. I know Dr. Abdul Bari, that he does come on TV1. He's written books in English, and he's very good. There are others that I may not know. That we need these, and we need more parenting courses so we can actually teach our parents how to parent. And the best remedy, I think, right, is teaching Islam to our children from a young age.
So if I may ask you, so are you trying to say that if we teach them the very basic of Islam, so that we kind of enable them to address these very issues themselves, rather than just going into that particular issues as a standalone thing? So it is always best practice to teach them Islam as a whole, right?
Yeah, I think obviously that any issue needs to be dealt with, whether it be through by the scholars or by the community, and the scholars and the community need to provide guidance to the members of the community. That's without a doubt. But what I feel like the best remedy, and it's very difficult, parenting is not very easy in this society or in any society.
Most difficult job, I think.
It's the most difficult job, right? And the sisters and the mothers who are doing that, they're doing tremendous job. It's a very difficult job, right?
Exactly.
It's more difficult sometimes to come into the office and doing some work on the computer and going back home. Parenting is very, very difficult.
Sheikh, couldn't agree more. Sometimes you get the questions from the children, you get stuck, you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It is one of those things we have to live with, and we cannot really
doing parenting courses is I think the best way, along with other things obviously. But if the children receive foundations from the beginning, one other thing, alhamdulillah, I've been an imam 10-15 years of different mosques in the UK, in London, in Manchester, in the Midlands, and I've seen that a lot of parents, they come to the imams, they come to me and they say, can you help my children? They're 17, 18, they're not praying and they're not doing that. I said, that's fine. We're here to provide any help and support we are able to. And then I kind of, remind people that, the best teacher are the parents, not the imam, not the teacher at school or madrasa. The best teacher are the parents. If I have neglected my children for 18 years, if I have not engaged my children for 18 years or the first 10 years, and then they don't listen to me when they're 18, I have to ask myself, question myself and reflect on the way I have brought up my children. So that's why parenting is really important. Engage your children, be with your children, hug them, kiss them, laugh with them, play with them, show empathy, right? Be kind and generous and merciful towards them. If they find a loving home, if they grow up in a loving home, in a harmonious home, in a tender home, in a peaceful home, in an Islamic home, then they will be able to deal with all of the challenges that they face outside. It's simple as that, inshallah.
Thank you
Obviously,
so much.
after Allah's guidance.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sheikh, for addressing these very issues. And again, it's a challenging one. Thank you so much again. So before I take the next email, let me remind our dear brothers and sisters one more time. The number is 0203-515-1764. If you have any questions, as I said, you can pick up the phone right now and dial the number. It's on the screen. You can just call us right now and ask your questions. Or if you'd like to give us any suggestion, any comments you'd like to make, please do so. Also, you can email us 1qa@tv1uk.com. This is the email address you need to send your questions to. And by all means, you can tweet us at TV1UK. Let's move on to our next email, and this is from a brother. It's a question, again, it's one of those questions. We all are having these kind of challenges in our daily life. It's working in a conventional bank, but he's saying particularly he will be working in fraud section where we'll be involving in just dealing with the inquiries about frauds and all that, but nothing to involve in riba as such or interest directly. What would you recommend to this brother, whether it should work to this bank or not?
So the scholars have said that that is allowed, that's acceptable. He's dealing with fraud and he's not dealing directly with the riba. It's fine, inshallah.
Thank you. And does this apply to throughout, like if whether it's insurance company or any other any such? Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for Sheikh for clarifying this further. Dear viewers, one more time, the number is 0203515174. প্রিয় ভাই বোনেরা আপনারা যারা কল করতে চান আমাদের ফোন নাম্বারটি খোলা আছে, এই নম্বরে ফোন করবেন ইনশাআল্লাহ এবং আমরা আপনাদের প্রশ্নগুলোর উত্তর দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব অনুষ্ঠান চলাকালীন সময়ে। Next email, Sheikh, this is a sister, is a very regular viewer of us. She is emailing us from Austria. By the way, they are in transliteration, so I'll have to work it out for you. First question is, কোন রুমের মধ্যে টেলিফোনে সব সময় কোরআন তেলাওয়াত করে ছেড়ে রাখা যাবে কিনা? So the question is, in a room, can they play Quran for the whole day or throughout the day? Is this something allowed? Once you answer this question, I'll come to the next one, inshallah.
Yeah, that's fine. In a room to play the Quran, recite the Quran. I mean, that's a good thing to do. It's something that we should do as Muslims, as believers, as much as we can, inshallah.
Okay, and this leads to the second question. She's saying, এখন টেলিফোন কোরআন তেলাওয়াত ছেড়ে রেখে আরেকটা টেলিফোনে অন্য কিছু দেখা, the question is, could you just say something about those people who sort of play the Quran in one phone and another phone they are busy with something else? What would you say to them?
So there's two ways to approach this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. That when the Quran is recited, listen attentively, right? So some scholars mention that if the Quran is recited, you should listen to it attentively. You should ponder, reflect over it, right? If someone is playing the Quran and doing other things, that's not a problem. It's not haram, right? It's not haram, because sometimes I am doing some work on my laptop and I'm listening to the Quran. I'm revising my surahs, right? Yeah. But the intention should be that it's not entertainment. Like it's not like you're playing a song. Obviously, we shouldn't play a song. I'm just giving an example. Like someone's playing a nasheed, for example, right? Yeah. Quran is the book of Allah, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But to play the Quran and do other things, it's fine, inshallah. It's no problem.
Thank you so much, Ustad. Beautifully explained. I hope, sister, we've answered your question. আপনি যে প্রশ্নগুলো করেছিলেন বোন, আমরা আশা করছি প্রশ্নগুলো উত্তর দিতে পেরেছি। যদি আর তারপর কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে ইমেল করবেন। Thank you so much. She's a very regular viewer for us, and again, thank you so much, Sheikh, for answering those questions. Sheikh, I mean, what I would like to you to discuss next is the very situation we are all in. We all know the Queen has passed away, and the funeral taking place officially on Monday. As a Muslim community, as a part of community, as a citizen of the country, what would you advise us to all? How do we approach to this, and how do we be part of it without being, I'm sure, I don't know if I'm making sense to you. Yeah. So in general, what would be your generic advice to all of us? What should we do, and how can we be part of it?
Anyone dying, Muslim or non-Muslim, is a sad thing, especially for the family members. It's extremely sad. Families are grieving at that moment, and we have to be compassionate, no matter who they are. If they're Muslim, non-Muslim, Christian, Jews, atheists, secularists, whoever they are. End of the day, we're human beings, and if someone loses someone within the family, they will be grieving. And if we are able to support them in time of need and grieving, then we should be, and we should be compassionate. We should show mercy. Obviously, we have to remain within the Islamic parameters. We have to remain within the guidance of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and not do anything or not say anything that will jeopardize the principles that we are talking about within the Islamic framework. So in this type of situation, the Queen who passed away, she was the longest monarch in the UK, 70 years, and of course, people will be sad and upset. It's natural, right? It's natural. When a famous person passes away, people look up to. It's something natural. And and many Muslims are human beings, right? They'll feel different emotions, but we have to do what is pleasing to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and not do anything or say anything that will compromise the teaching of Islam, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Sheikh, for your suggestion in this regard. So before I move on to any phone calls or emails, this is an email I would like to read out to you. This is from a sister, Sheikh, and she's got two questions. First one is, let me read it out to you. She's saying, my whole life I have tried to practice Islam as well as I could. I pray, fast, listen to my parents, but lately, due to my parents, I feel like I'm drifting away, which is very sad. So she's saying, I have never asked anything of my parents, but the other day I told them I found someone who I deemed suitable for me for marriage and met all my requirements, and from the get go I let them know, but now they're saying no to what she said. It's purely because him being a different ethnicity and being emotionally blackmailed. Now, what would you suggest to this sister? Because she's feeling, because of that, she's drifting away. It's a very challenging one for and very common phenomenon in our community nowadays.
Yeah, and if you allow me a couple of minutes, it's really, really important, and
yes,
it's
please.
Something, again, unfortunately, within our society, our culture, generally, I think, again, that's why parenting courses are really, really important, how we communicate with our children. Sometimes the parents, parents, we love them, right? We have to, it's part of Islam. But sometimes also the parents can, yes, emotionally blackmail their children, right? They can do certain things which are not correct in Islam, right? They may do certain things which are wrong in Islam, right? And they will weaponize some verses in the hadith of the Prophet about respecting and loving parents. So look, the Prophet said you have to love and respect your parents. You can't go against your parents. So this is how they emotionally blackmail, right? Yeah. Their children, and that is wrong. That we shouldn't, as parents, do that. In this situation, if a sister has found someone who is appropriate and wants to marry, then I understand in our Bengali culture, parents will want their children to marry within their culture, right? Within their tribe, as it were. And I think this is a matter of the family just need to discuss and compromise as much as possible, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, if someone comes, if a suitor comes, good akhlaq and deen, right? Doesn't matter what background they're from. And if the two people are happy with each other, let them marry. In our culture, sometimes when two people marry, the whole family marries.
Yeah, it's a marriage between two families, isn't it?
And this is a beautiful thing. This is a nice and beautiful thing. What tends to happen is that in our culture, is that when the parents' expectation is that you should marry the people that we say you have to marry, and they have to look after us. There's a lot of responsibility and burden thrown at them. And sometimes the children, they feel that, okay, I want to get married because I want to get married. I want to get married with someone that I want to live with. Not a person that you think that would be good for me, right? Yes, you're my parents, you guide me and whatnot. And what happens is that children, they develop psychological problems, right? They become distressed, right? They become distressed in this situation. So what I would say to the sister is that, look, speak to your parents, speak to your elders. We have to respect them. We can't go against our elders, and find ways to communicate with them. Make dua, make istikhara, and find ways to communicate what you feel and what you think is right. And look, sometimes parents are right, sometimes parents are not right in this situation, and a lot of the time parents are right. Yes. And I'm not judging this situation in particular, generally. So we cannot go against our parents, at the same time, the parents need to understand that they need to listen to their children too, because the people they get married, it's not for the parents. This is really important for us to understand. In the Bengali culture, when people get married, it's not for the mother or the father. When they get married, it's because they want to build a life together. We have this wrong perception, right?
I think what happens here is, I think what happens here for parents is tradition and the culture takes over the actual needs are there. You rightly said, if you find someone, if you like someone, that should have been given the importance rather than what happening here. The culture and the tradition has been given importance to.
So some tradition and culture is important, but the right tradition and right culture. Sometimes you can have a cultural practice which is wrong, but tradition and family is really, really important, even within Islam. So I think that there's no straight. It's very difficult to give a straight answer, like a direct yes or no answer, right? Here, I think the sister needs to communicate as best as possible, communicate with the relevant people.
It's a scenario, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sheikh. I hope, sister, we have answered your questions satisfactorily. If you still have any doubts or any questions, you'd like to have more consultation and suggestion from us, please feel free to email as you did, maybe on the next program, inshallah, because we are coming to the end of the show today. The sister has a second question, though. She's saying it's a completely different thing. She's saying, will it be sinful for someone or who misses prayers purely because they were anesthetic and it's still wearing off? Will they be sinful for that if they miss any prayers?
Okay, no, they won't be. No, they won't be. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Rufi al-qalam and thalath." The pen is lifted on, right? And a person who is sleeping, and a person who's lost control of the mind, right? So if a person is sedated, for example, and is under general anesthesia, and he's lost control of the body in that sense, then no, they won't be sinful, inshallah.
No worries. So what would you recommend to anyone having these when they become aware?
And when they become aware, they immediately pray.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sheikh. So one more time, dear brothers and sisters, the number is 0203-5151764. If you have any question, anything you'd like to share with us, not only just you want to have suggestion from us, please do suggest us for anything you would like to mention about our very program or TV1 overall. Please feel free to do so. The number is, one more time, is 0203-5151764. It's on the screen, and also you can email us 1qa@tv1uk.com. This is the email address you need to use. Also, you can tweet us at TV1UK. Okay, let's read out another email, and this is from a sister again. She's saying, can you please explain about the 4 months, 10 days of Iddah? Because my sister's husband passed away last week. She wants to know if she walks in early morning or after evening with the daughter on her health condition, is it okay? So what would be the Iddah rulings? And if she were to walk in the morning with her daughter because of the health reasons, is this something allowed? Because some people are saying that she cannot go out. Also, sometimes her nephew's husband's brother come over to see her. If they come in front of her, is she's getting any guna for that? What would you say to the sister?
May Allah make it easy on the sister, inshallah. Must be very, very difficult time. So the Iddah, there are certain rules within Iddah. Stay at home, not beautify, right? Not go out. But in certain circumstances, it is allowed to go out. So for example, if the sister was working, for example, and there's no one else to provide for her, she has to go to work. She can do that, right?
So
because it's due to necessity.
Okay, so it's based on circumstances, and again,
circumstances. If it's better to avoid it if the sister can, but due to necessity again. So if the sister wants to go out for health reasons, the doctor said to do that, then it's allowed, but be restricted in the movement, or not too much, basically, right? But it's allowed due to health reasons, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Sheikh. Beautiful explanation. We hope sister will answer your questions. And again, as I said to the earlier Sister, if you have any further questions, please do email us, and inshallah, next program we will address this. We're at the very end of this program, Sheikh, and this would be the last email I'll be reading out to you today. And then after that, I would like to again request you to say a few words afterwards, inshallah. So this is from a brother, and he's saying, again, he's in a big dilemma. He's saying, a brother married to a kuffar and has invited the family for baby gender reveal party. I don't know if you've ever heard of this kind of party.
Yes.
So because it's a pagan tradition and it is a sin to go to, the question is it a sin to go to this party, or is the family sinful for not going to the invitation? What would you say to this brother?
So gender reveal party is essentially they reveal the gender of the baby to the family members, right? As long as, you know, if they're not doing anything kind of prohibited, then it's allowed. You can go, even if it's a non-Muslim family and you go, and and there's nothing like alcohol and whatnot. And in baby reveal parties, you may not have alcohol, or some probably do, but you shouldn't participate in that, obviously, right? Yeah. Because it's important to keep, you know, the family ties. So, you know, yes, it may be the roots of it may be a pagan tradition, but essentially now it's just, you know, people gathering together and enjoying the moment and revealing the sex of the baby. So I don't think it should be a problem, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Sheikh. Beautifully explained all of this question. I would like to thank you for answering all the questions we had today. As you can sense, I am at the very end of this show today, and I would like to hear a few more words from you before we go. We'll have about 2 minutes left, inshallah.
Okay. Thank you all for emailing and asking the questions. I think it is, you know, important that we continue learning about Islam. The Prophet ﷺ said that طلب العلم, you know, is farida ala kulli Muslim, that learning, seeking knowledge is obligatory, mandatory upon all Muslims. And alhamdulillah, you know, TV1 and, you know, other platforms are there to provide access to knowledge and teachers. And, you know, before, when we were growing up in the 80s, 90s, we didn't have anything like this. So we are very fortunate now, living in the internet age, that we're able to, you know, engage teachers and scholars and ask them questions. And we to continue, you know, go to your local mosque, go to your local, you know, institution, a school or institute that teaches, you know, Quran and Hadith and Islam and fiqh, and you know, enroll at a course. Really, really important. These Q&A are important, no doubt. There's a service that is needed, but also at the same time, it's important that we learn our fardul ain. We learn our basics, how to pray, how to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We learn zakah and Sawm and Ramadan, all the fara'id we learn. And that can only be done with in front of a teacher, right? Sitting in a classroom, sitting in the mosque, house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and learning from A to Z. And knowledge is power. When you have knowledge, you have power, you have energy, you have motivation, you develop confidence, right? And when you learn Islam, when you learn the Quran and the Sunnah of Nabi Sallam, you know, you develop so much more. That and so much more. So what I would kind of leave you with is, you know, seek knowledge. Seeking knowledge is the most important thing. The first word or the first imperative in the Quran is iqra. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who created. And unfortunately, most of the Muslims in the entire world are perhaps illiterate, right? Whereas the Quran starts off with iqra. And that one word, Brother Hassan, that one word changed the whole entire world.
Exactly.
That one word. Right, that one word revolutionized everything. And then we had scholars, you know, who were mathematicians. We had people who were, you know, astronomers and fuqaha, you know, all these great inventions. Who built them?
We had leading scientists.
We had leading scientists. Medicine. We were pioneers in technology, in ecology, in geography, in medicine, in many different areas of psychology, for example, pioneers, because of Iqra.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. I cannot thank you enough for giving us time today, and may Allah accept all the words we said, and anything Allah give us reward for it. So, dear brothers and sisters, as you can sense, we are at the very end of this program. We will be concluding program now, inshallah, with the same note. প্রিয় ভাই বোনেরা, আপনারা যারা এতক্ষণ আমাদের সাথে ছিলেন, সবাইকে অনেক অনেক শুকরিয়া আদায় করছি এবং আগামী অনুষ্ঠান দেখবেন। এই দাওয়াত দিয়ে আজকের মতো শেষ করতে চাই। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু।